You know that moment when your entire world shifts, when everything you thought you knew just crumbles. I'm standing in one of the most prestigious art galleries in Manhattan. The owner, this sophisticated woman in her 50s, is holding my drawing. The same drawing my stepmother tore into pieces just 3 months ago. "This is a masterpiece," she whispers. And I can't breathe. Let me back up. My name is Sarah, and this story is about how my stepmother tried to destroy my dreams. How she ripped apart the one thing that meant everything to me. But what she didn't know, what she could never have imagined, is that sometimes, when you try to break someone, you accidentally set them free. 3 months ago, I was living in my father's house. Well, technically it was their house now. My stepmother made sure I knew that. Every single day. I was 22, fresh out of college, and broke. Completely broke. My art degree felt worthless. My student loans were crushing me, and my stepmother, she reminded me constantly that I was a failure. A burden. But I had this drawing. This one perfect drawing that I'd been working on for months. It was everything. Every emotion I'd ever felt. Every dream I'd ever had, it was all there. In charcoal and graphite on a piece of paper that cost me my last $10. The morning she destroyed it, I can still hear the sound. That awful, tearing sound. Like my heart was being ripped in half. She stood there, pieces of my work scattered on the kitchen floor, and she smiled. Actually smiled. And she said, "Maybe now you'll focus on getting a real job." I thought my life was over. I thought she'd won. But you know what they say about picking up the pieces. Sometimes, those pieces, they lead you exactly where you're supposed to be. My father remarried when I was 16. And honestly, I thought I was getting a new mom. Someone who would care about me, support my dreams, maybe even love me. I was so wrong. Linda, that's my stepmother's name. Linda came from money. Old money. The kind of money that makes you think you're better than everyone else. And from day one, she made it clear that I didn't belong. My real mother died when I was 12. Cancer. And my dad was drowning in grief, in medical bills, and just trying to survive. When he met Linda at some charity event, she seemed like a lifeline. She had everything we didn't have. Money, connections, this pristine house in the suburbs. But what my father didn't see, what he refused to see, was how she looked at me. Like I was a stain on her perfect life. The first incident happened 2 weeks after they got married. I was 17, and I just won second place in a regional art competition. I was so excited. I ran into the house, holding my certificate, ready to show them. Linda was in the kitchen, arranging flowers. Expensive flowers. And when I showed her my award, she barely glanced at it. Then she said, "That's nice, dear. But you know, art isn't really a career, is it? Maybe you should focus on something more practical." I remember my father nodding along. He always nodded along. The second incident was worse. I was 18 and I'd saved up money from my part-time job to buy proper art supplies. Real brushes, professional grade paints. I was so proud. I'd worked for months to afford them. Linda found them in my room. And she threw them away. All of them. $200 worth of supplies, in the trash. When I confronted her, she said, "I'm sorry, sweetheart, but I thought they were old and dirty. Besides, you're going to college soon. You won't need those anymore." But the third incident, that's when I knew she hated me. I was 19, home for winter break from college. I'd been working on a portrait series, portraits of my mother. From old photographs. They were beautiful, or at least I thought they were. I'd spent weeks on them, pouring my grief, my love, my memories onto those canvases. Linda found them in the basement where I was working. And she stood there for a long time, just staring. Then she turned to me, with this cold smile and said, "You know, Sarah, your mother is dead. These paintings, they're just morbid. Unhealthy. Maybe it's time you moved on." She didn't throw them away that time. She did something worse. She donated them to charity without asking me. I found out weeks later when I saw one of them, a portrait of my mother holding me as a baby, hanging in a thrift store window. $25. My father, he said Linda was just trying to help me process my grief. But I knew better. She wasn't trying to help me process anything. She was trying to erase my mother completely, to make sure there was no trace of my old life, my real life, in her perfect world. That's when the real war started. The comments about my weight, my clothes, my grades. The way she'd interrupt me when I was talking to my father. The way she'd schedule family events when she knew I had art shows or competitions. By the time I graduated college, I felt invisible. Worthless. Like maybe she was right. Maybe art was just a stupid dream. But I kept drawing. In secret. Late at night, in my room, with the door locked. Because it was the only thing that still felt like me. Let me know in the comments where you are watching this video from. I'd love to know. And that's when I started working on the drawing. The one that would change everything. The drawing was everything I'd ever wanted to say but couldn't. It was a piece I called Invisible Daughter. It showed a young woman, transparent, ghost-like, standing in a family portrait where everyone else was solid, real, vibrant. I'd been working on it for 4 months. For months of staying up until 3 in the morning, perfecting every shadow, every line, every detail that captured what it felt like to be forgotten. It was the morning of March 15th. I remember the date because it was supposed to be the day that changed my life. I had an appointment at a small local gallery. Nothing fancy, but the owner had seen some of my college work online and wanted to meet. I was nervous, excited, terrified. This was my shot, my one real shot to prove that maybe Linda was wrong about me. I'd hidden the drawing in my closet, wrapped in tissue paper, protected like it was made of gold. Because to me, it was. That morning, I woke up early. I wanted to get ready, practice what I was going to say, maybe even tell my father about the meeting. I thought, maybe this time, he'd be proud. But when I went downstairs for coffee, Linda was already in the kitchen. And she was different. Agitated. Her perfectly styled hair was slightly messy. Her makeup wasn't quite right. "Good morning," I said, trying to keep my voice neutral. She turned around. And I saw it in her eyes. That look. The one she got when she was about to strike. "Sarah," she said, her voice artificially sweet. "We need to talk." My stomach dropped. "About what?" "About your situation," she said, stirring her coffee with sharp, angry movements. "You're 22 years old. You've been living here for 8 months since graduation. No job, no direction, just drawing pictures all day." "I am looking for work," I said quietly. "And I'm building a portfolio." "A portfolio?" She laughed. Actually laughed. "Sweetheart, this isn't high school anymore. Your father and we've been talking. And we think it's time for some tough love." I felt my hands start to shake. "What do you mean?" "I mean..." She paused, took a sip of her coffee. "That we're giving you 30 days. 30 days to find a real job or what?" She smiled. That cold, calculated smile. "Or you'll need to find somewhere else to live." The words hit me like a punch to the stomach. You're kicking me out?" "We're encouraging you to become independent," she corrected. "Your father agrees. This artistic phase, it's gone on long enough." I wanted to tell her about the gallery meeting. I wanted to say that maybe, just maybe, I was about to prove her wrong. But something in her eyes, something told me to keep quiet. "I understand," I said instead. But as I turned to leave, she said something that stopped me cold. Oh, and Sarah? I hope you don't mind. I was cleaning your room yesterday and I found some clutter. I took the liberty of disposing of it. My blood turned to ice. What clutter? Just some old papers and sketches. Nothing important. I ran. I literally ran up the stairs, 2 at a time, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might explode. I threw open my closet door, pushed aside the clothes, reached for the spotwear. Gone. The tissue paper was there, torn and empty. But the drawing, my drawing. Invisible daughter, it was gone. I searched everywhere. Under the bed, in the trash, in every corner of my room. Nothing. Then I heard it. From downstairs. The garbage truck. I ran outside in my pajamas, barefoot, screaming at the driver to stop. But it was too late. The truck was already moving down the street, carrying away everything. I stood there in the driveway, watching my dreams disappear around the corner. And I felt something inside me break. But then I got angry. I marched back into the house. Linda was still in the kitchen, humming. Actually humming. Where is it? I said. She looked up, all innocence. Where is what, dear? My drawing. The one I've been working on for 4 months. Where is it? She tilted her head, like she was trying to remember. Oh, was that the disturbing one? With the ghost girl. It wasn't disturbing. It was art. Oh, sweetheart, she said, her voice dripping with fake sympathy. That wasn't art. That was sad. Depressing. I was worried about your mental health, keeping something like that around. It was none of your business. Everything in this house is my business, she snapped, her mask finally slipping. This is MY house. These are MY rules. And I won't have some ungrateful little girl filling it with her pathetic, self-pitying scribbles. That's when I lost it. Completely lost it. That drawing was worth more than anything in this house. I screamed. It was worth more than your stupid designer furniture, your perfect little life. It was worth nothing, she screamed back. Just like you. Just like your mother's paintings that I had to get rid of because they were making your father depressed. The words hung in the air between us. And in that moment, I saw her clearly for the first time. Not as a stepmother who didn't understand me. As an enemy. Someone who had systematically destroyed every piece of my mother, my history, my dreams. Because she could. Before I tell you what I did next, if you're enjoying this story, please subscribe. Help us reach 1,000 subscribers. Because what happened next, what I did next, it changed everything. I didn't scream back. I didn't cry. I didn't break down like she expected me to. Instead, I got very, very quiet. You threw away my mother's paintings, I said, my voice barely a whisper. Linda's face went pale. She realized she'd said too much. Sarah, I didn't mean you threw them away. And you lied about donating them. She started backing toward the counter. Your father agreed. My father doesn't know, does he? The silence stretched between us. And in that silence, I saw her fear. He doesn't know you threw away my mother's paintings. He doesn't know you destroyed my drawing this morning. He thinks you're helping me. Linda's hands were shaking now. Sarah, please no. I turned around and walked toward the stairs. We're done here. But I wasn't done. Not even close. See, Linda made one crucial mistake. She assumed I was weak. She assumed I would just take it. Like I'd been taking it for 6 years. But what Linda didn't know, what she couldn't have known, is that I'd been documenting everything. Every cruel comment. Every destroyed piece of art. Every lie she'd told my father. I'd been writing it down, taking pictures, saving evidence, just in case. Because deep down, I always knew this day would come. That afternoon, while Linda went to her weekly tennis lesson, I got to work. I called my father's office and told his secretary it was an emergency. I needed him to come home immediately. Then, I made some other calls. My father arrived 20 minutes later, panicked. Sarah? What's wrong? Are you okay? Sit down, Dad. He looked confused, but he sat on the couch. The same couch where Linda had told me my art was worthless so many times. I need to show you something, I said. And I pulled out my phone. First, I showed him the videos. Yes, videos. I'd been secretly recording Linda's outbursts for months. Her screaming at me about being worthless. Her throwing away my supplies. Her calling my mother's memory unhealthy. My father's face went white, then red, then white again. Sarah, I had no idea there's more. I showed him the photos I'd taken of my destroyed artwork over the years. Canvases cut up, drawings torn, supplies thrown in the trash. She told you she was helping me become more practical, I said. But look at the dates, Dad. Look at what she was really doing. His hands were shaking as he scrolled through the evidence. 6 years of systematic destruction. And this morning, I continued, my voice getting stronger. She destroyed something very important. A piece I was supposed to show at a gallery today. A gallery? His voice was barely a whisper. I had a meeting, Dad. A real opportunity. And she made sure I had nothing to show them. That's when we heard the front door open. Linda's voice echoed through the house. I'm home. Sarah, I hope you've started packing. She walked into the living room, still in her tennis outfit, and froze. My father was sitting there, my phone in his hands, looking at her like he'd never seen her before. David, she said, her voice suddenly small. What's going on? My father stood up slowly. Very slowly. And when he spoke, his voice was ice cold. 6 years, he said. David, I don't understand. 6 years you've been torturing my daughter. 6 years you've been lying to me. Linda's face went completely white. I don't know what she's told you, but she didn't tell me anything, my father said, holding up the phone. I saw it. All of it. In your own words. That's when Linda made her final mistake. Instead of apologizing, instead of admitting what she'd done, she doubled down. She's manipulating you. Linda screeched. She's been recording private conversations, violating our privacy. She's unstable, David. Look what she's doing. What I'm doing, I said, standing up, is protecting myself from someone who's been trying to erase me for 6 years. You're being dramatic, am I? I pulled out my laptop, because I also have these. I opened up my email, and I showed them the messages I'd sent that morning. To my father's lawyer, to Linda's own family, to her tennis club friends. I sent them everything, Linda. Every video, every photo, every piece of evidence. They know exactly who you really are. Her mouth fell open. You can't. You had no right. I had every right, I said. You destroyed my art. You destroyed my mother's memory. You tried to destroy me. That's when she started crying. Real tears for the first time since I'd known her. David, please, she sobbed. You can't believe her. I love you. I love this family. You love this house, my father said quietly. You love the money. You've never loved us. And that's when my phone rang. I looked at the caller ID. It was a number I didn't recognize, but somehow I knew I should answer. Hello. Is this Sarah Mitchell? Yes. This is Margaret Chan from the Chin Gallery in Manhattan. I understand you had an appointment today that you missed. I looked at Linda, who was staring at me in horror. Yes, I'm so sorry. There was a family emergency. Well, here's the thing. I was cleaning up our dumpster this afternoon and I found pieces of what appears to be an incredible drawing. The signature says S. Mitchell. Would that be you? My heart stopped. Pieces? Yes, it looks like it was torn up. But Sarah, even in pieces, I can tell this is extraordinary work. Where did you create this? I looked at Linda. Her face had gone completely gray. It's a long story. Well, Margaret said, I'd very much like to hear it. And I'd like to discuss representing you. Can you come in tomorrow? The next morning, I sat across from Margaret Chin in her pristine gallery office. Between us, spread across her mahogany desk, were the pieces of my drawing. She'd somehow reconstructed it, like a puzzle. Tell me what happened, she said simply. So I did. I told her everything. About Linda, about the years of destruction, about finding my mother's paintings in a thrift store, about waking up that morning with hope and having it literally torn away. Margaret listened in complete silence. When I finished, she was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, Sarah, this drawing, even destroyed, even in pieces, it's one of the most powerful things I've seen in 20 years. My hands started shaking. Really? The emotion, the technique, the symbolism, it's masterful. But more than that. She paused, studying the fragments. The fact that it was torn apart, it actually makes it more powerful. It's become a metaphor for itself. I didn't understand what she meant. Not yet. I want to represent you, she said. I want to put together a show. Not just this piece, but the story behind it. The destruction, the rebuilding, the survival. I don't have enough pieces for a show. Margaret smiled. You're going to create them. Starting now. She offered me a studio space, a monthly stipend, and something I'd never had before, belief. But the real satisfaction came later that day. I was back at the house, well, my father's house, packing my things. Linda had locked herself in the master bedroom and hadn't come out since the night before. My father was helping me carry boxes to my car. I'm proud of you, he said quietly. I should have seen what was happening. She was very good at hiding it, I said. She made sure you never saw her real face. That's when we heard Linda's phone ringing upstairs. And ringing. And ringing. Shouldn't she answer that? I asked. My father shook his head. It's been ringing all morning. Ever since those emails you sent went out. See, Linda's life was built on image. Perfect house, perfect marriage, perfect social standing. Her entire identity was wrapped up in what people thought of her. And now, everyone knew the truth. The first call came from her tennis partner, Brenda. Linda, honey, I just saw the most disturbing video. Is that really you screaming at David's daughter? Then her book club called. Linda, we're concerned about some things that have come to light. We think maybe you should take a break from the group. But the one that really broke her was from her own sister. I heard Linda sobbing through the bedroom door as she played the voicemail on speaker. Linda, I can't believe what I'm seeing. Those recordings, that's not the sister I thought I knew. Mom and Dad are heartbroken. We need some time to process this. Please don't call us right now. The house phone started ringing too. Friends, neighbors, people from her charity organizations. All of them, pulling away. By noon, Linda finally came downstairs. Her perfect hair was a mess, her makeup was smeared, and she looked broken. You've destroyed my life, she said to me. No, I replied calmly. I exposed it. David, please, she turned to my father. Tell her to take down those videos. Tell her to fix this. My father looked at her for a long moment. Then he said something that made my heart soar. You did this to yourself, Linda. Sarah just turned on the lights. That afternoon, while I was setting up my new studio space, my phone started buzzing with texts. Not angry ones, grateful ones. The first was from my cousin Emma, who I hadn't talked to in years. Sarah, I saw the videos your dad's friend shared. I had no idea. I'm so sorry. Also, I work at an art magazine now, and I'd love to interview you about your story. Then from my high school art teacher. Sarah, Mrs. Rodriguez here. Someone sent me a link to your gallery feature. I knew you had something special. So proud of you. even from strangers. I don't know you, but your story was shared in my art group. You're an inspiration. Don't let anyone dim your light. But the best text, the absolute best, came 3 days later. It was from Linda. I'm moving out. David filed for divorce. I hope you're happy. I stared at that message for a long time. And then, I deleted it without responding. Because Linda was wrong about one thing. This wasn't about happiness. This was about truth. 2 weeks later, Margaret called with news that would change my life forever. Sarah, she said, barely able to contain her excitement, I have 3 collectors interested in your work. But more importantly, the Museum of Modern Emotion wants to discuss acquiring Invisible Daughter for their permanent collection. Even torn up? Especially torn up. They want to display it as is, as a testament to survival. The exhibition opened a month later. Fractured, Art, Family, and the Power of Truth by Sarah Mitchell. The centerpiece was my destroyed drawing, mounted behind glass, each torn piece carefully preserved and displayed. Next to it was the story, the real story, of how it came to be. Opening night, the gallery was packed. Art critics, collectors, people who'd heard the story online. And standing in the corner, trying to look inconspicuous, was my father. He walked up to me, tears in his eyes. Your mother would be so proud, he whispered. She is proud, I said. She's here. Because finally, I wasn't invisible anymore. It's been 8 months since that morning when Linda tore up my drawing. 8 months since I thought my world was ending. Today, I'm sitting in my own studio apartment in Manhattan. The walls are covered with my work. Real work. Work that people value. The Museum of Modern Emotion bought Invisible Daughter for more money than I'd ever imagined possible. But more than that, they bought the story. The truth. Linda tried to contact me once, about 3 months ago. She sent a letter through her lawyer, asking me to remove the videos from social media. She said they were hurting her chances of finding work, of rebuilding her life. I never responded. Because here's what I learned. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply tell the truth. Let people see who someone really is behind the mask. Linda spent 6 years trying to make me invisible, trying to erase my mother's memory, my dreams, my very existence. She thought because she had power, because she had money, because she had my father's ear, that she could just delete me. But you know what she forgot? Art, real art, it survives. Even when it's torn to pieces. Even when it's thrown in the trash. Even when people try to destroy it, it finds a way. My father and I, we're rebuilding our relationship. Slowly. He's been going to therapy, trying to understand how he let Linda manipulate him for so long. How he chose silence over protecting his own daughter. It's hard. Some days, I'm still angry at him. But I'm learning that people can change. If they want to. Linda. I heard she moved back to her parents' house in Connecticut. Her divorce was messy. Expensive. Turns out, when you build your whole life on lies, it doesn't take much for it all to collapse. But this isn't really about her anymore. This is about what happens when you refuse to stay invisible. I have a solo show opening next month. 23 pieces, all exploring themes of family, truth, and survival. Margaret says it's going to be big, life-changing. And you know what the best part is? The piece that started it all, my torn, destroyed, worthless drawing, it's going to be featured in art textbooks. As an example of how, sometimes destruction can become creation. Sometimes. The worst thing that happens to you becomes the exact thing you needed. If you liked this story, and you want to hear more about what happened next, check out this other video on the screen. I tell you about the opening night of my first solo show, and who showed up uninvited. Trust me, you won't believe what happened next. See you there.